All right, what's up, you guys? It's your girl Nisha Simone, aka Pink Wings, and so I'm coming at you guys today with a very serious video. It's gonna be about how to heal from all types of abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, or just really anything that traumatic that has happened to you. Sorry, I'm getting my ice cream ready. I thought it'd be fun for me to do it with ice cream just because when we're going through certain things, um, when our inner child is broken or unhealed, it's important to do things that we like to do, or eat things that we like to eat when we were children. And me, I love ice cream. Like I just love. I got ice all over my shirt, but I love ice cream so much. So like when I eat ice cream, it's very healing to me. Of course, I try not to eat it too much. But yeah, I love ice cream. Oh crap, I can't open it. Holy shit. This is the time when I need someone stronger than me. Okay, now I got it. All right. Just kidding. All right, so sorry, I'm really trying to get into this ice cream. It's butter pecan. So this is gonna be a pretty lengthy video, and I was really the ice cream really is for nerves too, because I wasn't sure at what point. I'm gonna touch on everything. Like I'm not gonna really hold back. So I really was confused as to whether I should do 18 plus or what. But I was like, this affects people under 18, so why not? But so hopefully YouTube don't flag my shit. But I'm not gonna hold back in this video. I'm gonna talk about everything, like the spiritual side of it, how I healed to it. Like I'm just gonna relate like how I healed through things. This is really good. How I healed through a lot of things. This is butter pecan. Okay. And I didn't even like butter pecan when I was a child, but I love ice cream in general. And when I got older, I was like, I really love butter pecan. This is really like an old person, an old person's ice cream. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I wrote some affirmations first of all that I want to say when it comes to healing your inner child and like focusing on just affirmations are very strong, very powerful. If you know anything about manifesting, the power of the tongue, using your words to say certain things can have an effect on people. Just like I tell people all the time, like magic isn't it's not really real. It's all about intention, the intention behind it. I mean, magic is real, but it's like the intention is what really gives the power. So it's like that's why it's important to watch what you say. Just saying certain things, you can cast a spell on somebody without even knowing it. That's why I'd be like looking at people and they're like, oh, that person's a witch. Like most of us, I'd say every single person on this world has at least done witchcraft at least once by saying hurtful things to people unintentionally, of course. So anyways, like the power of the tongue is very important. Watching what you say, things like that. Watching what you say is very important. And like uh just watching what you say and making sure that you're speaking positive things in your life. I always tell people, even when you're saying like bad things about yourself, don't even joke about it. Like don't even joke around and say, oh, you're ugly, or you're this, you're that, because that um again, words are powerful, and you could be casting a spell on yourself. Like you keep saying you're ugly, and then now every day you look in the mirror, you're not attractive, you don't feel attractive. So mm. Oh my god, that's so good. Okay. All right, so the affirmations that I wrote down are the ones that I feel are important to me. So these should be important to you too. I didn't write down all of them. I have like a whole book of them. But it says, and this is for those of you who have maybe traumatic dealings when it comes to the parental unit. So I'm gonna say the first affirmation is, my parents' mistakes were a reflection of their journey and not, my worth. So that's important, because a lot of people feel like You know, if you've gone through physical abuse from your your parent, you know, that's the person you trust, you know. So when something like that happens, that's the number one person you trust. You know, they created you, they gave you life. So when they're hurting you, it really does. It's gonna do something to your brain. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves that though we're in this world and we're younger than our parents, sometimes we're here to teach them lessons too. You know, as a child, you can teach your parents lessons too. You can teach them how to, you know, that's why a child is a blessing. You can teach them how to um heal their own shit, you know. A lot of people don't recognize that, but a lot of children that are put in our lives are here to teach you how to mature, how to heal through your own pain. My parents' mistakes were a reflection of their journey and not my worth. And then we have to remember that sometimes our parents, they especially because they come from a different time, you know, we're constantly evolving every, you know, 10 years. A lot of our parents come from a different time where you can't, like nowadays people are very voiceful about the things that they feel versus like back in the day, yeah, we could voice certain things, but you know, women are, you know, still sometimes in certain countries are able to voice their opinion, and we didn't have that back then. You know, if you said something, like half the stuff people say nowadays, you get killed or you get silenced. But that's important to know because it's like a lot of people are still stuck in this old societal programming where they feel, especially with men, where they feel like they can't talk about their emotions, like it's unmanly to, when it's like it's not about a man or a woman, it's about being a human being. You know, at the end of the day, we're all human beings and no one should have to like hold that emotions deep inside them. It's very dangerous. And I tell people like emotions like that will manifest into like something worse. It'll always manifest into something physical if you don't do something about it. You know what I'm saying? So I tell people like whatever you're feeling, just, you know, don't hold it inside and make sure like you're not, you just got to be self-aware. And that's my number one thing. The reason why, you know, won't say that my healing process was a lot faster than most people, but it is a lot easier when you're more self-aware of how you respond to things, you know, when it comes to dealing with other people or like responding to your environment. Um, Another good affirmation is I was worthy of love, care, affection, just as I am now. So everybody is worthy of love. And I know like sometimes like I said, trauma happens to people. You know, it doesn't have to be physical and emotional abuse is harsh, you know, very hard to deal with as well. You know, one isn't either worse than the other. It's, like I said, for different people it's going to affect them in different ways. But like I said, I was worthy of love, care, affection, just as I am now. And sometimes with our parents, um, I don't know why I keep talking about the parents. So most people that watch the video probably had like suffered a lot of things due to the parental, like do with like a lot of healing that they need to do with their parents. So I feel like I lost my train of thought. I just feel like yeah, I can't remember what I was gonna say. Fuck. It's probably because this ice cream is so damn good. I can't even think. Oh well, it'll come back to me. Yeah, it'll come back to me. I'm not gonna sit there and ponder on it. Okay, anyways. So we're gonna talk about, you know, signs that you may have an unhealed child wound. Obviously, like people who have very like explosive feelings of emotion, or super angry, super sad, like depression, suffering from depression, suicidal thoughts. You always feel low about yourself, like you're like your worst critic, like you say the worst things about yourself. This is why like it's important for me like that I, you know, I always look in the mirror and I talk to myself and I'm very confident with myself and who I am. Though I have things I need to work on and I'm aware of those things. I still make sure that I'm, the being the best person I can be every single day, even though, I'm like, I still have these human emotions and that I get triggered sometimes. Like, people, not a lot of things trigger me these days, but when they do, it's just like, wow, I need to put myself in check. But like, one of those things I used to do is like always feeling low about yourself and like saying, calling yourself stupid. Like, that's a sign of, like, even when you're saying like, I'm so stupid, maybe somebody made you feel that way when you're younger and would say things like, why are you doing that, or question everything you were doing, so it made you feel like you were actually stupid. So that's like one sign of having an unhealed child, you know, wound. Also, like, being a people pleaser. Like, if you're always, this is my thing, because I am definitely a people pleaser, or I was. I'm a very selfish person now. But it's like, I did everything from the time I was probably out that womb. I was like doing, always people pleasing. Like, I was the mediator in my family's home. I was like the mediator in my friendships. I'm always going out of my way, giving more to in my relationships, in my friendships, in my family. All my relationships I was giving more to and getting less than what I deserve back. So I was filling up their cup and not my own. And that is very energetically draining, mentally draining. And it's just like, it makes you feel lonely, and it makes you feel like a piece of shit too. Like, you're like, wow, I'm just not worthy of anything because people treat me like that. Maybe I really am just not worthy of, real love or real friendships, or having, a really good connection with my family. Things like that. When you're always being a people pleaser, it can really affect you. You have to stop and ask yourself, why am I always doing things for people who would not do the same for me? And why do I have to feel bad about doing those said things? If they're not doing it for you, yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, certain people's, how people treat you is a reflection of them, and how you respond to how they treat you is also a reflection of you. But it's like, at the same time, in a situation like this, when you've been doing stuff your whole life and you're not getting nothing in return, like, energy is reciprocal. Like, when you give someone good energy, you should get good energy back. you know that's how the universe works. You put out good energy, you get good energy back. You put out bad vibes, you get bad vibes back. That's the way it works. The spiritual law. So if you're doing all this stuff and not getting anything in return, like, you should really question that. Another thing is, like, you have trust issues. This is my thing. It's like, you can't trust other people. I mean, that one's really hard to, especially if you like get been kind of like effed over by a lot of people. That one's really hard to do. um it's really hard to trust people. I'm gonna have to come back to that one because I'm actually still working on that one myself, is how to trust people. But it's like, how can you trust people? It was like, literally every single person you met, just like, you know it's just fucking crazy, or just not, just treated you like shit. Like, how do you trust people? It's like, literally every single person. But it's like, I'm coming to a point in my life where I'm actually letting my guard down now, and I'm like meeting people, and I'm letting those people, gravitate towards me. And I think they're gravitating towards me because I am healing. I'm learning to let my guard down, and I am healing that part of myself. So I feel like those people are gravitating towards me because I'm healing that part of myself. Like, I'm opening up my heart. And when you open up your heart chakra, you are allowing things in. Not having your heart chakra open, which is your heart, like, being cold and mean to people, it doesn't allow for abundance to flow to you. You won't get blessed. You won't have meaningful relationships, meaningful friendships, if your heart is closed off. So it's very important to open that, because you're literally the only thing that's standing in your way. Like, people that are like mean and nasty to other people, they're like, well, why did this person get this and that? Maybe because they're a good person, and they no matter what happens to them, um they're positive, and they don't look down on people. They don't talk shit about people. They just have a good heart. That's all it really takes. Is like, granted, we're all gonna have our nasty moments. I am one of those people. I can have attitude, like, I'm 0 to 100 real quick. But at the same time, like, opening up your, God, I keep having brain fog. So opening up your heart chakra, it's just really important. I don't even know. Okay, so people pleasing, having trust issues, um, always feel like you have to carry, burdens on your shoulders. Like, so when I was a kid, like, I always had to, like, I pretty much raised my siblings. Like, you can relate me to, what is that girl's name? Fiona from Shameless, kind of like that. And I always felt like I had to do it. Like, I had to take care of my siblings. I didn't have to do shit. I was a kid. I didn't have to do nothing. But I chose to, because that was ingrained in me already, was to do those things. So I didn't have to do it, but I chose to do it. And guess what I do now, or what I used to do now, up until, a couple years ago, I was still doing that in my relationships, always feeling like people's burdens, always feeling like I couldn't leave this person behind, even though they had addictions, or they had money problems and stuff like that. I felt like I had to help them, and I was carrying their burdens on my shoulder while healing through everything I was healing through. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's gonna cause depression for anybody. So, mm. This last one is very important because I see this in people all the time. So, jealousy, when you experience a lot of jealousy because you see people getting what they want, that is an unhealed child wound. Like, you need to ask why you're so jealous of somebody. Being jealous of somebody means that you're not trusting the plan that God has for you. There is no reason to be jealous of anybody or envious of anybody. Because most of the time, there's 24 hours in a day. You have the same time as anybody else. So why are you wasting time being jealous of somebody? You could be putting that energy into yourself, doing what they're doing, using them as inspiration, not copying, but using them as inspiration to follow your dreams. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay, I'm done with this ice cream. It's probably gonna like melt everywhere. It was really good. But I'm done with this. It's kind of like making me get distracted. I keep staring at it. It's like looking at me like, eat me. The jealousy is a big one because jealousy can manifest into some fucked up shit. And jealousy is something that can take you down a dark road. So, like, when I see people acting jealous, when I see people acting jealous of me, or jealous of another person, or hating on another person, talking down on a woman or a man, I'm cutting your ass off ASAP. Like, I don't got time for that to manifest as an entity or something. So let's see what else we're going to talk about, because we are going to get deep. I'm going to try to keep this at 35 minutes, though. Sorry. I'm not scratching my butt. I'm pulling my pants down because they're so high. Okay. So we went over affirmations. So it is important, like I said, to say affirmations every day. Say affirmations every day is how I started. The main thing I tell people is that, for me, I wanted to keep saying I'm healed, I'm healed, I'm healed, when I really wasn't. I wanted to rush the process because I thought me healing would bring in something a lot faster, when it was just like, it didn't matter how healed I was. If God didn't want me to have it at that time, I wasn't gonna have it. So, but it was a win-win situation because, I still healed. But I think the most important thing to remember is that healing takes time. It's not something you can rush. You can't rush it. It takes time. Some people are in their 50s. And it's like, you at any age you can choose to heal. It's never too late, to go through the healing stage of any emotional abuse, any physical abuse, any sexual abuse, any closure that you need. It's never too late to get that. And I also want to say another thing, like, if you are someone who has gone through this, any of those things, please do not be afraid to speak up about it. Write it in a book, journal it, put it in a song. Definitely, I would say I am the number one person to tell you that anything that I'm feeling, 1000%, I'm always going to make money off of it, or put it into my creative endeavors. I'm going to write a song about it, do poetry, dance about it. I love to dance. I love to sing too, but mainly I love to dance. I love to draw, or I'm going to, when I get pissed off, I'm going to go create a business idea. It's important. That's called transmuting energy. When you do things like that, it's called transmuting energy. So I think it's very important for people to know that whatever you're doing, whatever you're feeling, you need to make sure that you're channeling it into something. Um, when I was experiencing all this, so let me just tell you. So I am somebody who has gone through, sexual abuse as a child and sexual abuse as an adult, physical abuse as a child, verbal abuse as a child, emotional abuse as a child, and then emotional abuse as an adult. And like all those things is just like, obviously that's really hard for anybody to take a burden on, but it's like, here I am today, I'm okay, thrive, I'm okay. And I just want to tell people, like I said, it does take time. You cannot rush something like this. I only started healing through these things like 4 years ago. And when I tell people, the most important thing for me was to be alone. I'm talking like, don't jump into relationships, don't jump into, you know, don't also be around people who are already toxic. People are going to take shit personal, fuck them. Focus on you. Like, don't be around people who are toxic, who only look out for themselves, who don't really even give a fuck about you really healing. Just be alone. Like, when I was first by myself in my own place, just sitting here in the quietness was so awkward for me because I was alone in my own thoughts. And that's the thing, like, a lot of people don't want to be alone in their thoughts because it forces don't want to be alone, and don't want to hear like the silence because it forces them to think about things in their own mind. Their mind starts to wonder and they start having memories about things that they don't want to remember. That's called escapism. When you're going through that, you need to sit there and think about those things. You have to face that demon. You have to face those things and figure out, dive deep and figure out, why are certain things triggering you. It's the only way you're going to heal. It really is. You have to face yourself. You have to sit alone and just think like, wow, why am I feeling this way? Why, when that person said this to me, did I just erupt? Why am I so like pissed off at this person? When they did this thing, it wasn't anything that I needed to really be pissed off about, but here I am very pissed off about it. Things like that will make you question things, right? Question things about yourself. Again, talking about being self-aware. So that's the thing. Being alone is very important. Being alone is very important. Being alone is very important when you are trying to process things in your mind. And like, it's very hard. Nobody wants to be inside their own head. People are more afraid of themselves than other people. But you have to do it. You can't, especially if you're one of those people who overthink things, go back and forth, back and forth. Why does this person treat me like this? Did they feel shitty about how they treated me? I'm going to say like 99.9% of the time, the person that did whatever they did to you, they don't feel guilty, especially when it comes to like the real serious type of abuse. They don't feel guilty about that. And I know that's going to be triggering for some people to hear, but that's just like me personally. I don't think that they feel guilty, mainly from a spiritual point of view. Looking at people like that, they carry dark entities on them to begin with. And this is why it's important to like break certain cycles, because there's a lot of people who do that, hurt people, and they continue that cycle. They become abusers themselves, or they don't know how to deal with it. They turn to things to escape. They drink heavily, they smoke, they have sex heavily, and all of those things are detrimental to the body and to the mind and to the soul, which is the most important thing. So it's like, no matter what people do, they're going to turn to escapism. And so at one point when I was alone, I was like, I can't go out partying and drinking all the time. I need to sit my ass down. I can't keep smoking weed and taking edibles. I need to just sit there in my own thoughts. And like, the thoughts that came to mind was, I felt like I could think a little bit more clear, but it was just like, it was very scary for me. And I don't really get scared about anything, but that was pretty scary, was me facing myself. Also like having a lot of sex too. Like, having a lot of sex, because a lot of the times, and this is gonna be out in the open. Like I said, I'm not holding back nothing, but a lot of people, when they have sex, their sexuality um gets involved when it comes to sexual abuse, they get very confused. Everyone has been there at least once. Let's like be mature about it. But everyone has um questioned their sexuality due to sexual abuse. If we're gonna be real, like I sometimes, and this, like, no disrespect to people, but I had to wonder, like, ask people if they're like gay. Is it, especially with males, I never really asked somebody this question, but I always wonder in the back of my mind, are they really like gay, or are they really just lustful, and did somebody hurt them and now they're just confused, or not even confused, but it's just like, when I said, are you actually attracted to a certain thing? Like, again, I'm not trying to offend nobody, but it's my channel. If Are you really attracted to, that, that, like, say if you're a male and that's you were sexually assaulted by a male, that's gonna do something to you, right? And then a lot of those males either become, gay because, or they want to experiment with males. Like, that's fine. I'm obviously not judging. I'm just questioning things like everybody else, because how are we going to get to the root of the problem if we don't question things? But now, like, people like that want to experiment with like other males and things like that, or they become bisexual, or they become angry because they don't want to admit the feelings that they have. And some men like that also become physically abusive towards women because they can't deal with that emotion, or the mental, when it comes to like, am I bisexual, am I gay, or is it just lust? Most of the time I say with guys or just anybody, it's kind of just lust. These are normal things to feel when you've been sexually abused, is lustful desires, having weird kinks and things like that. Like I said, I'm going to be open about it. A lot of people who have gone through sexual abuse have weird kinks or things that trigger them. Like me, I'm not going to talk about anything that I've gone through. Like, we're not going to get that personal, but I'm going to say, like, yeah, people have weird kinks or things that they go through that they don't even know why they have those thoughts. But I just want to say, like, that's normal. That's normal when it comes to healing. What's not normal is staying in that. At some point you have to be like, why do I keep thinking about this? Why do I like this so much? You need to question things like that, and it becomes a problem too when you're excessively going through that same cycle. You know what I'm saying? Like, going through that same cycle over and over again, like um the same thoughts that you're having. um it can be a lot, and I know it's a lot because I've encountered a lot of males. Mainly this is might be part of my spiritual journey too, but I have always encountered a lot of males who have dealt with sexual abuse. Like, 1 in every 3 people is sexually abused. So it's like, I mean, I've met women too, but just like 1 out of 3 people is sexually abused. That means, like, if you, one person, another person, out of those 3, one person has been sexually abused. That's a lot. That's a lot, and it's really scary to think about something like that. That's why it's important for people to speak up about it and um, heal from it, so we can break cycles, because things like that, they can get passed down through bloodline. And what I'm talking about is, like, spiritually, that anger, that that hatred that you feel for that person, what they did to you. We always, one thing I noticed, that people like that always um question, like, what did I do to deserve this? And it's like, you didn't do anything to deserve anything. Nobody wakes up one day and asks for anything like that to happen. It's all about that person. Maybe same thing happened to them, and then happened to the person that did to them, and it's like an endless cycle. It's like, you have to at some point break the cycle. um it's why it's so sad, because it's just like, that person, and then it's just hard. It's just really hard to, because there's different ways you can look at it. It's just like, that person did that, and I know, like, somebody else did that to them, and I'm not giving this person any pass or anything, or I'm not giving a person a pass for what they did to you. We all are born with a conscience. The Bible says we are all born with God in our heart. So that means, like, when you wake up, when you're born, and you come into this world, you're making a conscious decision to be good or bad. Even when somebody is demonically possessed or has an entity, they still are consciously making a decision to be in this darkness or not, because they can fight, but if you're choosing not to, then it is what it is. That's just who you are. So yeah, so anyways, I'm gonna say, like, being by yourself, talking about it, doing things that relate to your child, your inner child, like going out, doing things that you like to do as a child. Um let's talk about certain triggers, some more triggers. What I didn't know, like, certain triggers for me is like when children cry, like when toddlers are screaming, that is a trigger for me. Like, I'm super overprotective. Like, I'll never not be this way, and I'm like this with kids, like, and I'll be this way with my own children. But I'm never, even when I'm out in public or I just see people with the other kids, I'm always constantly questioning if they're okay. Like, that is like something that I'll never be able to get rid of. I've tried, but like, no matter what, like, I've gone through so much abuse that when I see kids like that, or just see kids, even happy kids, when they're screaming or crying, like they're crying, triggers me. Like, it does something to my mind. I have to wonder, like, are they really hurt? Are they really hurting deep inside? I hope they're okay. Like, I'm trying not to cry about it now, but it's like, that's something that I'll never heal from. So I don't know if that's another trigger for anybody else, but that is definitely a trigger that I have, is children crying. I'm always wanting to protect children, and yeah, I can't get rid of it. Like, I'm always overly protective of kids, no matter who they are, whose child they are. Like, I'm just protective of them. Another thing for me, and we talked about being sexually confused and things like that. I feel like eventually people will, when you're sexually confused, people will eventually come out of it. I won't say that um that I went through that. I'll just say, like, when I was younger, I mean, I won't say that I was like, oh, do I like girls or anything like that. I was just like, when I was a kid, I was just like so away from people, like, so, like, I didn't like, so first of all, the way I grew up, my mom let me, I could dress however I wanted, but my mother was super strict with me, but I could, kind of dress whatever, how I wanted, which is very, like, classy, like how my mother dressed. But, aside from, other girls my age who dress provocative or things like that, like a normal teenager, I was like, I've always wanted to be covered up. Like, the most I wore, the most I showed, I really started dressing more like, I won't even say I dress provocative now. Like, even this, like, when I was younger, I wouldn't even dress like that. I wouldn't even want to dress like that. I wouldn't even show this part. Like, I'd be fully covered. I was not comfortable showing any part of myself. That's how I grew up. Like, that was just my choice. I didn't want to show any part of myself, any skin. I was very self-conscious about my body. I also struggled with like eating disorders. So I wasn't in a way where it's like, I was kind of in and out the hospitals a lot due to my I had a lot of lung issues. So I was always in and out of the hospital, and I would eat food. And I was like, I've been suffering with depression and suicidal thoughts since I was a child. Um, I'm not like that now. I'm very much opposite of who I was, and definitely healed through that. But I'll just say, as a child, like, I was going through all that, and I just remembered, like, I didn't want to eat. Like, I gained so much weight from being in the hospital. I just stopped eating. Like, I just stopped eating for like a month or two, and I didn't even realize how much of, like, I would come home from school, make sure my siblings were good, they needed help with their homework, and then I would just go in my room and I would go to sleep. I wouldn't eat food. I just didn't feel like, I really just didn't love myself. I didn't like myself. I didn't like my body. And I got really, really skinny. I dropped all this weight and I got really, really skinny. And then, like, eventually, I was going to school, and then the counselor was calling because I wasn't talking either. I was a mute for like 3 years. The counselor would not. My teacher called my parents up and was like, I don't even remember what was said or what happened. I remember they asked me to go, um it was my architecture teacher. She was so sweet. I don't remember her name, but if I ever find her again, I will give her a hug. I mean, She was like really like someone who genuinely showed interest and caring, because like she showed like she acted like she actually, cared. And I have never met anyone outside of my family that, has acted like they, really cared about me. So that shit was fucking weird. But like I can't remember her name. I'll have to look her up one day. But she, called my parents up there, and they didn't do nothing. They didn't really do nothing wrong, but it was just like she was concerned, and she was like she hasn't been talking. And then she, like, when I get home, I'd say little words to my family. My stepfather was, he was back and forth overseas, but he also had like a lot of mental issues, and he was physically abusive a lot. So it was really hard dealing with him, because him coming back from overseas and, things like that. It was just really hard. My mom was, pregnant every time he would, he was gone. And so that left me to help take care of her, plus my other siblings. So it was just really exhausting. But like I said, I was mute. I didn't talk. And then my counselor, everything was fine. I told him I was fine, things like that. And then my mom pulled me off the side of the road, and we had a serious conversation. And she asked me, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Has anyone hurt you? And I think at that point she was thinking that maybe it was, my stepfather doing something. And I didn't say anything. It wasn't him that had really like did anything, aside from the fact that he was just physically abusive. Sometimes he wasn't always like that, but aside from that part, it was just like she had pulled me over and was asking me. And it was like, but the way she was asking me, it didn't really make me feel like I could be open. It was more like she was hoping that I wouldn't say it was him or something like that. And that just made me feel like shit. And she never said that, but I felt like she was she was angry about that. So that's when I really stopped trusting people. I really stopped trusting people. Like, I love me and my mom's relationship was kind of crazy, but like as I got older and stuff like that, and I got out of my marriage and things like that, we started to get, our bond came closer, because I had gone through my divorce, and then a couple years later she went through hers. So I kind of like I said, children we teach our parents, sometimes. And I had to teach my mom, like, hey, you don't need this person in your life. Like, he's immature. Like, my stepdad's immature. He's jealous of his own kids, and when people provide for his kids, he gets intimidated by that. I'm like, you don't need that person in your life. Like, I showed her how to let them go, just like she showed me certain things about myself. Like, I never really had good male role models in my life, which is why I'm like amazing choices in love. But um now I know like my self-worth and things like that. It's definitely really hard, because I'm super picky about the kind of person that I want to marry and things like that. Which is like, I encourage everybody to be that way. Codependency, like, you don't want to be codependent on, certain relationships, just because, that person is there. That's a wound too. Being codependent on somebody, for money, or just emotional codependency, that's not good, because that person's just there to be there. You don't really care. you know that's important to not do that. I'm eating the ice cream again. It was calling my name. Another thing is just like, never be quiet about it. I did wait a long time to speak up about things like that. The person, and this was like 2-3 years ago, where I was SA'd, as an, not just saying as an adult, like it doesn't happen to, adult women, but it was like 2 to 3 years ago, and I regret not speaking up about it and doing something. And I had to have a conversation with my own family member. I was just like, I feel like, um, guilty because I didn't report this person, because I know that they're still doing this. They were even doing this before me, and this person's already getting karma. So I can talk about it now. And even my ancestors and my spirit guides were like, you need to speak up about this. And I never did, until, I tried to, but I just like, I don't know. I'm not afraid. I just don't know how to go about doing it correctly. But they're like, You don't need to feel guilty because of what someone did to you, because you know they're my sister was just like, my sister was, this is like the smartest thing she ever said. My sister's like, she's smart, but sometimes she's like an airhead. But she was like, you don't need to feel guilty about what someone else is doing. You know, they hurt you, and you don't have to feel pressured to go run and tell everybody at this very moment because you feel like this person is still doing it. Because even just because you're like, because I was saying like, I know that this person is still doing this to other people, and that if I would have just said something that blah blah blah, but I'm just like, it's not my fault. I was like placing the blame on myself. Like, we can't do shit like that. You have to know, like, it's not your fault when things like that happen. But it took somebody on that from the outside to tell me that, you know, I'm there, like, I'm sorry that happened to you, you know. And that's all I really wanted to hear was like, I'm sorry that happened to you. That's another thing. If you ever, if the first thing that comes out of your mouth when somebody's being open to you about going through something like this, and you're like questioning, well, why did you wear this? Or what did you say? Or what did you do? If that's the first thing that comes out of your mouth, and not, I love you, I support you, I'm here for you, what can I do to help you? Anything other than that is fucking bullshit. Like, if somebody were to say that to me, or if I hear somebody say that to somebody who's being open with them, I'm gonna punch them in the face. That's all I'm gonna do. That's what I would do. I just slap them up. Because that's so fucking, like, that's rude. Like, why would you tell somebody, why would you question somebody when they're being open with you about their experiences they had, and you're sitting there saying, well, why did you do this? And what were you wearing? And people, it don't matter if somebody's wearing a fucking burqa. I see, is that what it's called, a burqa? I see women all the time in Iran or other countries fully clothed. You make all these fucking rules for women to be fully clothed, and you still blame the woman when a man acts the way he acts, or when a person acts the way they act. You're blaming it on clothes. Women be fully clothed. What's next? You're gonna fucking take our I can't say that word on here. I'll get, they'll shadow ban me. I can't say that word, I don't think. Take women's private parts, and then what? You know? We do all these things to please men, or not even to please men, to make their life better, to make them feel comfortable. And I'm not saying this because I hate men, you know, on some like feminist type shit, but man, come on, like, we do all this shit to to make our life, like, to make their life comfortable, and at the end of the day we still get fucked. You know, we still get literally fucked, forcefully fucked, non-consensually fucked, and we still like have to suffer. So, but one day women will rule the world. I foresaw it. I'm gonna say it's a very real thing. Okay, what's another thing to talk about? You know, I'm trying to be so chill about this thing, and it is very serious, but I'm trying to be like, have my energy open, because I want people to feel open when it comes to these things. You know, a lot of people wait years down the road to say anything. That's another thing, like, stuff that happens in the family. People don't be wanting to say shit, like with the uncles, the grandfathers, the mothers, anything like that. Like, I hate how, that's another thing. I hate how we normalize men having sex at a young age and don't think that can, like, nothing can happen to them mentally. When a man has sex at a young age, like 13, when I be hearing the ages people started fucking, I'd be like, what? At that age, I was fucking watching cartoon. Everybody grew up differently, you know, but a lot of people, like, I feel like when people are codependent and stuff, like, that's how codependency starts. See, like, you especially if you're experiencing like abuse in the household, you wanted to be around somebody all the time, or wanted to go, you know, to someone else's house all the time. You become codependent on that person or that energy, that home as a safe space. Like, codependency, what it is, it's a safe space. It's looking for a safe space. And I feel like, you know, a lot of people deal with that. I feel like people are so quick to shut out things that are going on in the like the family home, like they don't talk about it. I just seen the other day on the news, like a really famous singer was talking about how him and his sister was battling with their family disowned them because they walked away from the family and they spoke out about said abuser, and their family, the whole family fucking disowned them. It was disgusting. I was reading about it. Their family disowned them because they were speaking about it, and they're saying how this person's still allowed to go to birthday parties and everything. So you're saying like the children are lying? Like everybody can't be lying. That like shit like that's disgusting. And luckily that person, you know, is famous, so they can use their power to put that person away. But it's like for the rest of us, it's kind of hard, you know, to do things like that. But thank God we have YouTube and we have TikTok and things like that. That's why, like I said, it's very important to speak out on things like that. Like, especially if you're somebody who doesn't voice your opinion, voicing your opinion and tapping into that creative energy, that sacral chakra energy. Your sacral chakra is what controls your creativity. It's where all your creativity is rooted in. Tapping into that energy also is going to help, you know, you form some type of identity, you know, within yourself. Because I feel like people also lose who they are when things like that happen. You don't really know who you are because, like I said, with the codependency thing, like when you're the codependency thing, the people pleasing thing, you become all about that person that you're with. You don't know anything outside of that. You don't know who you are outside of relationships. You don't know who you are outside of like escapism, because you sat there trying to escape the whole time. You never sat there with yourself, so you don't really feel like you have an identity, and that could be dangerous. I've seen people who don't have an identity try to take on other people's personality and identity. That to me is a mental illness in itself. I feel like people don't know how to cope with things like that. Like I said, because when something hurts you, when someone hurts you, it's taking away your identity. But like tapping into that sacral chakra energy will help you form some type of identity, like drawing, singing, dancing, exploring any type of healthy endeavor is going to help you figure out who you are and what you like to do, you know, what you like to do. So talk about anything else. I'm going to probably do another video on this so I can get more. I probably didn't cover everything I wanted to do, but I did want to just start to put this video out because I did say I was going to do it on my TikTok, and a lot of people have been waiting for it on my TikTok. And then I was telling them like I can't do that on my TikTok. I only got 3 minutes 3 minutes on there, and I'm not going to do like a 15-part video. So hopefully more people will come and, you know, watch it on here. You know, I see my subscribers going up a little bit every day, but you know, I'm trying to be more on YouTube versus my TikTok because I have a lot more TikTok followers and I have a lot more Facebook followers, but I'm trying to be on here more so I can get my followers up on here. So with that being said, if you like this video or if you have an opinion about this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thumbs up, subscribe to my Instagram. Add me on Facebook, add me because I'm not on there no more. Add me on TikTok or whatever. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. If you need guidance or any advice on how to heal, I can, you know, help you with that. I don't charge for that. I'm not doing any personal readings, but if you do need guidance or whatever, don't be afraid to, you know, message me. If you are feeling suicidal or depressed, you know, please, you know, call the 1-800-suicide line. If you are someone who has gone through sexual abuse, please, you know, report it while you can, and or anytime, you know, it's never too late to report something like that. And like I said, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I hope this video helps at least one person. And like I said, I love you guys so much. And if you have gone through something like this, I'm sending you nothing but good energy and good vibes, and praying, you know, praying that you can heal through this the way that it works for you. So yeah, like I said, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I love you guys. Bye.